Welcome to Community Arts Kitchen.
Mindful mark making. Before we begin, please take a moment to consider the following question. Why is art making important for yourself and others? Materials needed: liquid watercolors, flat and round brushes, and watercolor paper. If you don't have liquid watercolors, a regular watercolor set will do just fine. Liquid watercolors are beautiful, brilliant pigments, but they tend to be a little bit messy to work with. This is my setup for a classroom setting to keep the mess under control. I use ice cube trays for a palette and set water container and sponge brushes on a lunch tray. Let's get settled in to our mindful mark making exercise. We're going to slow down and breathe along with our brush strokes. Let's try not to be perfect and go with the flow and enjoy this process of making mindful marks. Possibly if you could do this in a family setting, classroom, or community. We will start with an exercise to calm our nervous system down. We're going to do something called calming the nervous system down. So you're going to hold your flat brush right about where that red mark is, and you're going to breathe in and out, and just tickle or massage your hand. If you would like to do this more like a path, you can start at the bottom of your base of your thumb, breathe in, stop at the top, breathe out. Go to your next finger, breathe in, breathe out. Go to your next finger, breathe in, breathe out. If you don't want to trace the fingers, just trace or tickle your palm. And what happens if you close your eyes? Feels so good. Okay, switch hands. And we might say, oh, this is my wobbly hand. But it still feels good. We will explore the following watercolor techniques and strokes: field of color, wet on wet, pattern making, layering, and lastly, how are you going to share your piece? Here we go, our first technique, field of color. So this is called a field of color. So I'm going to dip in here. I don't even know what color this is, but I'm going with the flow. I'm just dipping the tip of it, bring it over to my paper, and I'm going to set my brush down and breathe in and out, and just drag my brush gently across the paper and see what happens. Hold your brushes like you would hold a pencil, and go back and get more pigment and try to make some sort of a shape. And I don't even know what shape I'm going to make. And go ahead and fill it in. Try to really enjoy the sound that your brush makes on the paper. So we have to be very quiet. I'm hearing kind of a swooshing sound. And notice, what does the paint do on your paper? I'm noticing here where my brush was really wet, the paint is very strong, and over here it gets fuzzy. This is more of a drier brush stroke. If you wish to change color, rinse your brush, paint an X on the sponge, and go to a new color. a field of color could go right out to the edge of your paper. So I'm going to scoot down so you can see it. Where's the edge? Here. And you could make something go off the page, a field of color, a shape. Do this for a few more minutes, and maybe you're going to do between 3 and 5 shapes, fields of color. And notice, are you tending to stay in the same area, or are your fields of colors spreading all over the paper? After you have done a few fields of colors, I'm going to challenge you to rotate your paper so that you have a different perspective of your art piece. Our next technique will be wet on wet. So I'm using my round brush because this brush can hold a lot of water. So we're going to dip it in water, and then somewhere on your paper, perhaps where you will still have a white area left. If you don't have any white areas left, no problem. You can go right over another area that's kind of dry-ish. Okay, so make a commitment. This is where I'm going to do this technique. Okay, now just drop in some water, and my water ends up to be a little bit pink, which is actually great so you can see it. If it's really clear, you can't see it. So just whatever puddle, think of a rain puddle, and I'm literally just, you know, dropping it on there. Can you see it? Great. Now, any color I feel drawn to, I think this is red, so I'm going to go with that. And then now watch. Just dropping the red in there. Ooh, it was actually orange, surprise. And what just happened? The color spread because the water is there. Now, I know, now we have to, so it's like fireworks. Now I can even drop in another color, watch this, and see what happens. And the two colors will mix. Now, I'm not done with the goodness. Are you ready? Watch. You can leave these and just observe what happens, or you can manipulate the paint, use the flat brush, and take a look. You can pull out from your puddle. Sometimes you may have to clean your brush in between and manipulate the paint this way. You can also squiggle out of it and enjoy that. Ready for our third technique, pattern making. So I'm tapping this. This seems dry-ish for my next technique, pattern making. Hold your brush for pattern making upright like this, and we're using the edge of the brush. Dip it in a color of your choice. I'm gonna go with, I don't know what this is, maybe magenta. And watch me. I'm going to pattern with the tip of the brush. And this is called layering because I'm layering on top of this field of color, and I'm sort of just following the shape. And this turns into a pattern. So it's magenta, green, magenta, green, magenta, green, even though I'm just using one color. Another way to make a pattern with the same flat brush is, watch this. You can put your brush down like this and lift, press and lift, press and lift, press and lift. And look at the gorgeousness that happens when you're layering. Of course, you can do all this goodness with a new color, rinse, wipe, and go in with a new color. And see all the amazing combinations you can make. And then again, breathe in And out, pattern making is repetition, which our brain really likes to calm down. And then once you have patterned for a while, I'm going to challenge you once again and rotate your paper and work from this direction with a new perspective of looking at your piece. And now think about how you will share your art piece. Please subscribe to this channel.
Thanks for watching. Community Arts Kitchen was created and developed by Barbara Libby Steinman and Anna Rochester. See you next time.